21 Pilots. Let me prepare myself. What are we going to talk about tonight? What's this episode about?
The mall.
The mall. I love the mall. Maybe that's because where I grew up, that's the only thing to do in the wintertime was go to the mall.
That definitely used to be the only thing to do in a lot of places.
Dude, going to the mall as a kid was like the shit.
Prior to Netflix, you had to go to the mall. Just to preempt everyone who thinks anyone else cares that they've never heard of this band, 21 Pilots has nearly 50 million units sold in digital sales. And I think they're one of like the 30 best selling bands to ever upload music to the internet. So if you don't know about this, that's your life and no one else really gives a shit about your life.
Yes. So do not put in the comments, who is this? I've never even heard of them. This is not even a band anybody cares about. What does this shit matter? I'm going to block you.
It doesn't matter musically for sure. Nothing here is interesting musically.
I mean, my whole thesis on the episode tonight that this isn't actually music. This is something labeled music that's just some sort of bizarro noise being put out into the world that has nothing to do with music. Certainly not rock and roll.
Between this and Imagine Dragons, we're living in a very dark time for mainstream quote unquote rock music, which that's actually a debate a lot of people have with this band, is arguing over whether it's rock music or not.
No, it's for sure not rock music, 100%. And I will die on that cross. This is not rock and roll at all in any way, shape, or form. A, you don't fuck the 21 Pilots, period. There's no way on earth anybody says, oh yeah, baby, put on 21 Pilots before they get groovy with each other. That is not happening, never happened once. If anything, the chances of you staying a virgin are very high the more you listen to 21 Pilots. B, they don't talk about politics at all. There's no politics. There's nothing angry about this. There's nothing good. There's no emotion other than sadness. This is just literally emo music wrapped in some sort of blanket of being quote unquote rock and roll or reggae or rap or whatever the fuck it is. But it's definitely not rock and roll in its truest sense in any way, shape, or form. Period. Nothing. That's it. Okay. Thanks for listening to the podcast, guys. See you next week.
We almost could end it right here. I don't see how even any fans of this band could hear this is something for depressed people as a controversial statement. This is so clearly only something that depressed people would like.
Yeah. There's no way. If you're listening to this, you listen to this because you're having a bad day and I guess you want to feel worse. Or you want to know that there's at least two other people in the universe that feel as shitty as you do. So throw on some 21 Pilots.
Even if this band didn't have a Christmas song, which they do, there's still the whole blurry face concept we have to get into later.
My name is Blurry Face and I care what you think.
I think what is interesting, though, about what we're saying right now is if you go back and listen to our Nirvana episode or the Pink Floyd episode about how probably not great of an idea it is to feed into and or glorify depression, it seems like 21 Pilots maybe realized how open their entire career was to that criticism and figured they'd have to address it with one of their songs, which is this song Neon Gravestones. But then if you look at the lyrics of it, it also seems like they kind of want to have it both ways, because even in this song, there's a part in which he fantasizes about how much more famous he'd be if he offed himself. That's still part of it, bro.
He never grew out of it.
You're still doing it.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if this is really representative of what his mind is like so much as whose money he wants is kind of what it seems like.
Maybe this is just the logical conclusion of growing up in like middle of nowhere, Ohio. And
have you been to Ohio?
Oh God, dude, listen, I'm a huge fan of getting rid of Ohio. Life would be better. That whole section just goes away. Life is fine. I think being an American without Ohio would just be a better life. So yeah, they grew up in Ohio in the armpit of depression and, probably terrible winters. It's almost like a band growing up in like Sweden or something like that, only they grew up and they made like black metal. And these dudes, I'm just going to make sad rap reggae stuff. And I don't know how to do it because my parents don't let me listen to music because I'm raised in such a crazy conservative Christian home that I can't listen to any music whatsoever. So maybe one day I get to listen to Reliant K and DC Talk, and all of a sudden I go, oh shit, I want to make a band. And so I start 21 Pilots. We should go on change.org and do a thing saying do away with Ohio and anything that comes from it.
Yeah, either growing up in Ohio fucked this kid up and made him do that ticking stuff that he used to do on stage in the early days, you know, the way like extras do in any movie scene set in an insane asylum. The first thing you do to show that you're having problems is do ticking stuff that, like, I assume isn't what this guy's really walking around doing all the time. So it's kind of weird that he would sort of co-opt that.
Look how weird I am. I'm so weird.
Yeah, a lot of it it really seems like mental illness cosplay, kind of, in a lot of ways. It also seems to me that they have been trying to preempt all the common criticisms people make of popular bands who everyone can tell we're always trying to get popular. Like, if I say it about myself first, then you can't say it about me.
Yeah.
They have a song called Lane Boy, which is another good example of this. It sounds like a defense from what people were probably already saying to this kid. Again, a white kid from Ohio who tries to enunciate like a Jamaican person when he sings and raps.
Yeah.
And then in the song Lane Boy, he says, I wasn't raised in the hood, but I know a thing or two about pain and darkness. They say, stay in your lane, boy, but we go where we want to.
They knew we were going to sit here and talk about it.
I'm going to keep rapping even if you don't like it.
Look, I know there's going to be two dudes someday sitting on a couch saying white people shouldn't make reggae music. And to stay in my lane, which should be just being a Christian band, because that's what they are. They should have just stayed in that world. But just because you said it, guys, doesn't mean that it isn't true.
On that song, he straight up raps about how the song that he's rapping on isn't rap. And that's really annoying. It's really annoying that he raps about how he doesn't rap. And it's really annoying that he talks about the reggae influence that is in their music coming specifically from European ska and reggae. It's almost as bad as the guy from Death Grips pretending to not be influenced by any human ever. Like, dude, we all know where you're getting this stuff from. Stop pretending like everyone but you is a moron. We can hear it. We know what you're doing and where it's coming from. I mean, I'm pretty sure if I gave you 3 guesses, you'd be able to guess what this guy's favorite movie is.
Fight Club.
Close. Real close.
Matrix.
Close.
Really? I don't know.
Donnie Darko.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
The most I'm Smart movie of all time.
So your favorite band growing up is DC Talk, and then your favorite movie is Donnie Darko, and then you just shit out 21 Pilots. It kind of makes sense if you think about it. Probably both of them listened to too much DC Talk, and they were like, oh, here's a band that can make rock and roll, and then they have rap songs, and then they have like cool reggae type-ish songs, I guess, and then they have straight up pop songs. They can do it all. We can do it all. We could just take what DC Talk did and make it mainstream because we won't tell anybody how much we love Jesus.
Musically, it's really funny that this is a 2-piece band and one of the guys' instruments is drums, because none of the drumming on any of these songs is some shit that is even interesting to watch a person play.
Yeah.
It's like the most basic.
It really could just be a drum machine and you would never know the difference.
It would make so much more sense for them to have drum tracks and then 2 humans doing other shit besides just like sitting down and moving your arms, basically.
Yeah.
Get another guy on a keyboard next to a guy fucking around on bass, anything.
Right. If it was a guy playing keyboard and then bass, or keyboard and guitar, or just 2 dudes playing keyboard, it would be way more believable.
I do love that this main dude will straight up admit why they wear masks and all that stuff, because it's exactly what we always say in episodes where that stuff comes up. And the bands always pretend like it's some expression of their creativity or their different personas or something. And no, it's not. These bands all started off playing in shitty rock clubs. if there's even an audience in the room, it's because they were there to see another band on the bill. And if you don't do something to get their attention right away, you're not going to get it. That's why bands start doing shit like wearing ski masks on stage. And one of the founding members of 21 Pilots has point blank said that in an interview.
Right.
Again, not a surprise to us because we've been saying this shit about masks the entire time. But I'm sure it's going to scandalize everyone who doesn't even want to admit this band's music was never going to get anyone's attention unless it came packaged with a bunch of bonus shenanigans.
Why? I don't understand why that is such a crazy thing to people. Like, it is not an artistic expression to wear a ski mask on stage. It has nothing to do with the music that's being made or what they're trying to express at all. It is a way to get you to take pictures and post it on Instagram. And so people go, what? Who's that? Oh my gosh, they're wearing ski masks. Wow, that's weird. Oh, and they don't swear in their music? My mom will let me listen to this. Wow, look how edgy and cool I am. Oh, I think that's cool because that's different, right? That's different. No, it's not fucking different. It's not different at all. Wearing a mask has been done for fucking ever. First of all, it's not cold. What are you doing wearing a mask in the dead of summer? You're an idiot. Take the fucking mask off.
Honestly, this band's fans might already know this because if you go deep into interviews with this main dude, most of his explanations for why they do anything come back to business and marketing. He characterizes their whole first album as basically some mixtape they threw together so they could build an audience by giving people music to take home from their show.
Right.
He said he started doing the concept album thing because it gave people a reason to listen to a whole album instead of just a song or two. And the whole reason this band exists is because Homeboy was working the amphitheater crew at a concert by the Killers. The boss told him to go sweep up the trash in the lawn section, and he decided he wanted to be the rock star on stage instead of a guy holding a broom, quit his job, and decided to go be in a successful band. He didn't decide to go be in a good band.
Sure.
He decided to go be in a successful band. This is documented fact.
And so what does he do? Well, I'm going to be an alternative rock band. But I also realized that music without swearing is accessible. And so how do I put together a project where I only have to split it with one other person, not 5 other people, where I can be edgy? Oh, I'll wear a ski mask, but I don't have to swear because it'll get played on the radio. And, oh, it can have really simplistic, overly simplistic hooks that I can just borrow from somebody else because this is the most unoriginal pile of garbage on planet fucking Earth. Making reggae music is cheating. It's fucking cheating. For a majority of people that don't listen to music and that all they do is listen to the radio, a little reggae hook in something is almost guaranteed to fucking sell out records. Boom, straight out of a fucking rocket.
I'm nearly certain that when this kid decided he was going to be in a successful band, he probably went to the mall. They have malls in Ohio, and the malls in Ohio have Hot Topics in them. And he probably just sat outside the Hot Topic for a week, watched what people walked out of the store with, who went in there with their parents, and he might even had a fucking clipboard and like pulled people, you know, like the Bon Jovi approach where they bust in teenagers. Just like, what did you like about this?
Yeah.
Why did you let your kid buy this? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I would like to believe that's actually exactly what happened.
The way he talks about his approach to doing this shit in interviews is almost that calculated. I saw pictures of this band and what their concerts look like for years before I ever heard 1 second of their music. The only reason I have now heard their music is because you said we should do this episode, and they sound nothing at all like what I thought they would sound like from the pictures. To the level of Kiss, where the first time you listen to Kiss, it doesn't sound remotely like what you would have expected based on the way everything looks. For some reason, I thought this band's, at least their early stuff, was kind of a poppier or EDM version of some all-out chaos band like Lightning Bolt. Basically, everyone pretending Death from Above 1979 hadn't already happened or some shit like that. But then I found out it's whatever you would call this paint by numbers YouTubers, sometimes reggae influenced faux rap pop from 2 kids who I'm pretty sure need to have someone sit them down and say nobody from Ohio should be enunciating this way.
Yeah. Does anybody actually wonder that? We cannot be the only people that have questioned that, right? Like, there's no way.
Why is he trying to sound that way?
This dude is from middle America, Ohio, middle of nowhere, Ohio. Why is he talking like that? If you zoom out a little bit and you understand anything about the music business and what it loves, is it loves these ideas of two guys coming out of Ohio, and they just like wrote this record out of nowhere, and like, look how cool and popular it is. They signed them to smaller imprints of the major labels to make it look like they're indie bands. They're not indie bands. They're signed to major labels. They have huge money behind them.
There's so much money spent on this by the time you found out about it.
Yeah. Everything is thought through. It's the exact opposite of what you would expect or think of when you think of rock and roll. If there's a grittiness to rock and roll that makes rock and roll good, this band has none of it. Grooviness to rock and roll that makes rock and roll good, this band has none of it.
If you got rid of all the supposedly deep stories and lyrics, then musically, most of this is just what Black Eyed Peas would sound like if they were two dudes from Ohio. Yes, that would absolutely kill at a gathering of the Juggalos if they haven't been booked at one already. There's just so much that is calculated about this, and almost to the degree of it being cynical.
You know what it really does sound like to me? It sounds like you gave a kid a guitar when he turned 13 and said, listen to these 5 bands and take what you heard and make your own song out of it. That's what it sounds like to me.
It's kind of hard to tell because of all the production tricks they use on the recorded version on the album. But if you look up them doing their song Heathens live, it is a combination of the song Trouble from Coldplay's first album and the sound effect from Radiohead's Creep. 2 hugely successful songs. This is a new thing, and you're all going to like it. Another way you could think of this is, what if Aesop Rock was nowhere near as good of a rapper and somehow became the main creative force of the band Alt J? What if Linkin Park sucked even worse and sometimes did a YouTube ukulele cover out of nowhere?
Yeah.
I had another joke about this being the kind of bullshit that you'd expect to find on the soundtrack of one of those comic book superhero movies made specifically for kids who shop at Hot Topic. But then I found out one of their biggest songs is literally on the Suicide Squad soundtrack. So It's not even a joke. That's just real life.
It just is. What's interesting to me too, now that you say that, I feel like 21 Pilots, and I could be wrong, but they kind of live on an island.
They can afford one.
Well, they seem to have like no friends. I guess, I don't know. I think sometimes like in music, bands talk about other bands and how much they like them and want to be a part of them. I don't see a lot anyways of people talking about, oh, I love the guys in 21 Pilots, or doing songs together, or working together, or guesting on other people's songs. And I'm sure there's probably a couple that they have, but not like other bands where there's a lot of crisscrossing, where it's a lot of respect for each other in different ways, and they want to work together and create more music.
People usually go somewhere where there's a scene. I think the main dude just stayed in Ohio. I think he just got a house in Ohio and he stays there. Him and the deer. That's it.
He's super sad, man.
This is one of those bands where if you look at the list of influences they give for their music, none of it makes any sense at all. They claim to be influenced by My Chemical Romance and Celine Dion. And I'm sure that they were probably joking when they said some of this stuff, but none of the bands they've ever actually claimed as influences are in the music, because they're not going to say like, we're influenced by Coldplay and Radiohead, because then everyone's going to be like, oh, that makes sense, because that huge song that you have sounds exactly like a Coldplay song and a Radiohead song mixed together.
Even then, by the time they would have even listened to those bands, they would have been in their like mid-teens.
What do you think kids who like 21 Pilots would do if they heard the band Mindless Self-Indulgence? just like scream for their parents to come help?
Yes, MSI would melt the brains of a lot of young 21 Pilots fans, which if you're a fan of 21 Pilots, you should just go ahead and listen to the Mindless Self-Indulgence.
Give that a shot.
It might, right?
21 Pilots is like if the dude from Owl City and the guy from Mindless Self-Indulgence were the same dude, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation, except each half made the other half worse at their job.
Yeah. They can't make up their mind on what they want to be. So what it is to me, you're like, okay, well, we're going to write, say, 10 songs. And rather than make a album of songs that makes sense to the music that you want to make. You write 2 reggae songs, 2 rap songs, 2 sad songs, and then 2 poppy accessible songs, and you see what works. Okay, what songs are our biggest? And then when you put out your next album, you say, oh, the reggae rap stuff seems to do well. We should do more of that.
I've seen a lot of people talk about this band's music like they invented something new or it's an original concept or whatever, but there are just a fuck ton of bands from the 90s that nobody ever talks about anymore that I think did a lot of this shit already.
Yeah. There weren't bands that did all of it in one, but that doesn't make it good.
Yeah.
Just saying like, oh, we married country and rap together doesn't mean that it's good. It doesn't mean that you're good at either one of them. There's something about people just picking a lane and staying in it, dude. Because like you get really good at doing what you do.
Right.
You get really good at being a songwriter or a good hip hop artist or a good reggae artist, whoever, because that's what you do.
And then that's how you establish integrity within that world.
And talent. Integrity and talent seem to go hand in hand. Yeah, like if you want to do like a rap song every now and then because it's fun or different, cool, whatever. But like, don't pretend like you're really good at any of these things because you're not.
Speaking of integrity, at a certain point, we've got to have a conversation about whether this band's work is immature or insincere, because it's one or the other. It's not organically like this. It's either cynically insincere, or even if it is immature, once they reach a certain age, it's no longer immaturity. At a certain point, this becomes cynical insincerity, no matter what.
Yeah. I think it's both. I really do. I think it starts off as being extremely emotionally immature because they're raised in a cage. They're probably emotionally stunted. They had a very limited scope of the world because it was protected by their family, whatever. And they make emotionally stunted music. But then they also at the same time realize this emotionally immaturity that gets quickly lunged into just pure insincerity because they start seeing how much money they could make if they just ride that wave.
If you're in your 20s and writing songs that mostly connect with teenagers, and if you're in your 30s writing songs that mostly connect with 20-year-olds, I think you should probably take a look at some things going on inside your head, maybe. I mean, I was shocked to learn that the main guy in this band is only 4 years younger than me. I thought this dude was a child based on the lyrical content. Honestly, not just even the lyrical content or themes, but the way that they're approached. I was so grossed out by the lyrics of this one song. It's called Clear. The lyrics are, I'm not trying to be lying to you, but it takes a clever guy to do what I do. It takes some chivalry and well-placed energy to subliminally get myself inside you. That's gross.
Yeah.
In about 3 different ways, that's gross. I also think it's weird when people use a put-on voice to sing. Wait a minute. How come when you sing, it sounds like you're putting on a fake voice to sound like a completely different person than the person you are when you talk? Is it because you're from Ohio and nobody wants to listen to music that sounds like a guy from Ohio? Is it because half the people who are going to add Stressed Out to a Spotify playlist wouldn't if they could tell you're saying that to you, the good old days are when your mom sang you to sleep as a toddler? Are you trying to like obscure these embarrassing lyrics that you wrote? But here's the other thing. When you have some person writing songs that are only about specific feelings or some specific mode of consciousness, what do you think happens every time you're watching that person perform the song live? Do you believe that this person is tapping in to that feeling for each performance, trying to recapture the way they felt when they wrote the song in order to recreate it for you? Or do you believe that they're just going through the motions and acting? Because it's one or the other. When people write songs that are more complex than this is the way I feel sometimes, or this is what I think about sometimes, these are not questions that even come up in the conversation. And I know fans are going to come back with the concept album stuff to say 21 Pilots songs are about more complex stuff than feelings. But all of the characters and entities in those concepts are just a metaphor for feelings.
Well, okay. What I think, too, emotional maturity goes towards issues and addresses them. I'm stressed out. You don't run back to it and say, well, my life would just be better if my mom was still singing me songs at night. I wouldn't be stressed out. You actually know, say, I'm stressed out. How can I not be stressed anymore? And you start dealing with it because you're a fucking adult. I wish my mom would sing. Well, she's not going to. You're fucking 30. Your mom's not singing you songs to bed anymore, dude. Grow up. Fans of 21 Pilots reverse their emotional maturity listening to this shit.
It's so weird.
It's like you listen to it and then you regurgitate these lyrics over and over again, and then you stop growing. You go backwards. All of a sudden, your girlfriend or your boyfriend is like, are you okay? And you're like crying in the corner because you're 12 again. You're 40, you have 2 kids. What the fuck are you doing? Stop listening to shit.
If you think that there is anything deep or meaningful to expressing the sentiment that you wish you could stay a kid forever, which that's such a cliche.
I don't want to be a kid. Who the fuck wants to be a kid? I don't want to go back to being a kid. I like my life. If you don't like your life, then figure out ways to change your fucking life. Don't go back and wish I was 8 again.
If this does sound like deep to you, then you should definitely go watch the music video for this song and see what these guys would do if they could stay kids forever. Because it's just them like riding big wheels around and shit.
There's something deeper for another podcast altogether. If your goal is always in life, or you always wish that you could go back to being a kid, you might need to talk to a therapist and figure your shit out. That's deeper than we go in this podcast, but you might need help.
I feel very comfortable in saying that if you're a fan of this band, I think that you should probably be talking to someone. Earlier, when I said that like the concepts that they come up with are all just excuses to talk about their feelings, that whole blurry face thing, this blurry face character is not a person with a personality. There's not a story in which blurry face changes or grows or wins or loses or is undone throughout the unfolding plot of a narrative. Blurry face is just an extremely simple catch-all metaphor representing internal doubts and fears and anxiety and depression. This is not a story. It's a device that puts a songwriter at a one-step remove from having to admit that all of their songs are just about feeling sad. No, my songs aren't about feeling sad. My songs are about blurry face that makes me feel sad.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'd also be willing to bet that 90% of the people who have thrown Stressed Out on a playlist and never look any deeper into this band just think that blurry face is literally the stage name of someone in this band.
Sure.
Like, because he's saying my name is blurry face and I care what you think. Promise you, there are so many people out there just taking that at face value.
I guarantee you a lot of people think that that's his stage name, alternate ego or something like that.
That entire Blurry Face album is basically what happens when 2 kids who love Sublime find out about MIA and Tumblr blogs in the same day and realize they'll only be able to get away with this shit for as long as they can keep from admitting that this is what they're doing.
That's one of the things that I didn't think about until today on the way over here, and I was listening to it again. It really is. A lot of these songs are kind of like Christian Sublime.
Another way you could look at it is if 311 listened to way too much Bright Eyes and then tried to recreate the concept album thing that they heard Coheed and Cambria does.
Oh my God.
If any 21 Pilots fans are here expecting a breakdown, analysis, or criticism of the stories and characters from 21 Pilots albums, you need to understand that you have come to the wrong place, because I don't care anywhere close to enough to do that. We're not taking this shit seriously, because they don't even seem to take it that seriously. But then the Blurry Face album blew up, so now this band had to lean all the way into the concept album thing with that Trench album, which, by the way, dude from Mute Math, who produced this album and also co-wrote about half of it, is your new favorite band. If you think that you love this album, congratulations. Listen to Mute Math.
Yeah, I don't think anyone who listens to 21 Pilots knows what Mute Math is or that they've existed. I would bet 1%.
Or that's half of a Mute Math album.
Right. Or what they're actually listening to. Yeah.
But anyway, the concept of Trench is also not even really a concept. It's an actual religion called Zoroastrianism. And this kid just gives new names to individuals participating in roles of this system that is centuries old and that he did not invent or create. And then, oh my God, one of them secretly turns out to be Blurry Face.
Whoa.
Wouldn't you know it? He's back.
I hate concept albums. I can't think of one that I've ever liked. The only concept album I probably ever liked is Dark Side of the Moon, considered a concept album.
Yeah.
The only way that I enjoyed that was tripping my fucking balls off. So outside of tripping my balls off listening to that, the concept albums suck top to fucking bottom. It always sucks. The concept across many albums, which is what seems to be 21 Pilots is doing. It's not even just concept albums. It's almost like a concept band. One day I wouldn't expect them to come out on stage and be like, gotcha. The whole thing was a fucking joke. Ha ha ha.
They're definitely a concept band. But the other thing about it is it's almost like he forgets that he's making a concept album for half the time.
Oh, definitely. Oh, he for sure. You could tell.
He forgot that he said he was supposed to make a concept album because if you get him talking about what any of these songs are supposed to be about, this narrative, you get him to talk about it, it takes him about one sentence to just start talking about the feeling that he was trying to evoke. Because again, this is just some gimmick to put him at one step of a remove from having to admit that all his songs are about feeling bad. He'll tell you what these songs are about, and they have nothing to do with the alleged concept of the album. Like, what does having a pet cheetah named Jason Statham have anything to do with whatever this story is supposed to be about some evil city or some shit? I've got a pet cheetah down in my basement. I've raised him and bathed him and named him Jason Statham. I've trained him to make me these beats. Now my pet cheetah's quicker in the studio than on his feet. I guess this album's concept is that the non-existent DJ in our band is actually a cheetah. But, you know, that's different from the Gorillas. Way different than the Gorillas.
Oh my God. It's just like borrowing concept from everybody else, making a mishmash of concepts. Which, real quick side note before we go on, I would like to say I fucking hate band interviews. I hate them all across the board. I never, ever watch, nor do I enjoy watching, even for bands that I enjoy listening to, which no, you can't ever know who I like. Fuck you. I hate listening to bands talk about what the inspiration for or the explanation of the song is. I hate them. All of them. Always. It makes the music worse. Always. If you like something, you're better off not knowing what the song actually was written about because you probably got it completely fucking wrong.
Almost always.
Almost always. It's not about what you think it's about. Almost always. You're going to be bummed. Stop it. If I was in a band, I'd be like, no, I'm never going to tell you why I do what I do, ever. Why'd you write this song? Because I wanted to. What was the inspiration? I don't fucking know.
I know that so many people are going to come at us about this concept album thing, but I don't think that this band or its fans should be allowed to use the term concept album because I'm fairly confident they don't know what it. Okay, so the Mars Volta's first album came with a 21-page short story book that goes deep into another plane of existence and literally invents new words in order to talk about unreal places and beings and events that hadn't happened that totally came from this person's imagination. You don't have to like the concept, but that is a concept.
Yeah, that is. Yes.
The Wall is a concept album that tells a fairly easily understood story within the context of the album. Yeah. You don't need an interview where this guy can't even explain to you why it's a concept album.
I hate it. I hate it.
By the way, before we move on from Trench, if any 21 Pilots fans listening to this have never realized how close the melody of the song Legend is to the Everclear song I Will Buy You a New Life, I would just like to say you're welcome for never being able to listen to that song without thinking about that again.
You should go listen to the song, 21 Pilots fans, because a lot of you may not have even been alive when that song came out. That song is from like the early 2000s.
Or late 90s, maybe?
Yeah, there's a good chance that a lot of 21 Pilots fans have never heard Everclear.
If you have daddy issues, which clearly you do, you're going to love Everclear.
Oh, shit. Father of mine.
Those songs are all really like embarrassing. But
I listened to one of them the other day and I was like, oh.
The production on that stuff holds up, though. They sound incredible. It's just the lyrics are just...
It's very dated is what it is. You're right. It sounds fantastic. It sounds like a great pop album, whatever pop songs, but like it is very obvious from the time period.
So I can't tell right now if toxic stan culture is a problem for all music across the board at this moment in history, or if it's just bands living in this sort of emotional territory for this age of an audience. But 21 Pilots is yet another recent band whose fans are the absolute worst.
Top tier shit people.
Horrible. Did you hear about when Smash Mouth got into it with 21 Pilots fans on Twitter?
No.
So someone asked the Smash Mouth Twitter account, which is a great way to start a sentence.
It's like brand new sentence right there.
If they liked 21 Pilots, and the Smash Mouth Twitter account said something like, yeah, they're great. I know that Tyler kid's going to keep doing awesome stuff. Main dude's name is Tyler. I haven't been saying it because I don't want anyone to be confused about this Tyler versus that Tyler.
Sure.
So then the Smash Mouth person said that the 21 Pilots is great and they're going to keep doing great stuff, which is, debatable at best. But the 21 Pilots fans still get mad at the Smash Mouth Twitter account for not giving credit to the drummer, because he singled out the main guy and said that how awesome he thought it was and didn't say anything about the drummer. 21 Pilots fans just fucking went in on the Smash Mouth account. So Smash Mouth was all, there's one person with writing credit on all of this band's hit songs. And the fans were like, yeah, but he's inspired to write by the drum sometimes, which is fucking hilarious, because that would literally be enough for the drummer to argue his case to get writing credit. And
yeah, because his very, very complex drumming is really inspirational.
I don't know that dude's name, but if you know him, you might want to let him know about this.
He could learn something right now.
Homie does not have writing credit on any of this shit. And if that is the case, he should have writing credit. I know people who get writing credit for being in the fucking room when a song was written.
I mean, also, being in a band there's only two of you, dude. Give the guy some fucking, he should probably get some writing credit. If you by happen to chance, I don't know what the fuck his name is. If you're listening to this, bro, it might be time to call your own lawyer and figure that shit out. Because you're missing out on probably millions of dollars.
If you have the same lawyer, I would maybe think about changing that situation.
Yeah.
One unfortunate byproduct of how siloed this is, this band has sold more music on the internet than nearly anyone, but people living real lives don't know about that this exists. And one thing that I think is unfortunate about that is it's super unlikely that fans of actual rap music are ever going to find out how much shit the main dude in 21 Pilots has talked about Drake's lyrics. That is a beef I would love to watch play out on Twitter. Drake fans versus 21 Pilots fans. Can we please get this to happen? How do we make this happen? I would love for this to happen.
Somebody get that popping. I'm here for it.
I think it's pretty likely that the guys in 21 Pilots have realized this whole making music for and about teenage emotions thing has a short shelf life, because their most recent album seems to be an attempt to move away from that. And in 2021, they did a commercial for Chipotle. So, just get that money off the table while it's still on the table.
Again, they're not a rock and roll band, and doing
the Chipotle commercial seals it.
Yes. If there was any doubt in your mind that got you this far on this podcast, it should be eradicated. The fact that they did a Chipotle commercial and it wasn't their music in a Chipotle commercial, which that's arguably different. People license music for all sorts of shit. They are in the commercial.
Oh yeah, we're gonna put a clip of it in this. For sure.
That is a much different thing than somebody paying you $500,000 to use your music in a Taco Bell commercial. You're in the commercial.
Josh from the band 21 Pilots shows his best friend Tyler the local Chipotle.
Do you come to this one often?
I don't know, every once in a while.
Oh, hey, Josh.
Hey, Heather.
How's it going? How's Debbie?
She's good, thanks.
Do you want the same thing as yesterday?
No, I think I'm just gonna work on something for my best friend Tyler here.
Hey, Josh, you just wanna...
Yeah. Welcome to Chipotle.
Dude, I didn't know that you...
Yeah, man, you want white rice?
Yeah, I guess I'll do the white rice.
That is another level of insanity.
I cannot think of a single more fitting food establishment for this band to do commercials for than Chipotle. Yeah. Hey, do you want to pretend you're experiencing something from a different culture that you actually won't have to handle the full flavors of? Because don't worry, this ultimately doesn't taste anything like the real thing.
Okay, real quick too, just to touch on this again. Why don't bands ever address their fans? Is it because they don't want to upset them? Why is it so upsetting just to say, yo, guys, thank you for your love for us, but chill the fuck out?
Yeah, you can't do that.
We're never going to say that.
They'll turn on you. I say that to people who listen to our show all the fucking time. All of the fucking time.
Chill out.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, that if they're out there acting a fucking ass and representing our shit, I don't want that.
That's
like,
fair.
Hey, don't be a fucking dickhead.
Sure.
I don't know. I know that like people who hate this show and don't understand it at all think that you and me are like running up to strangers on the sidewalk and forcing them to talk about this shit. We're making episodes of a show and uploading it to the internet. If someone presses play on it, that's them. Like they made the choice. You have to make the choice to experience this. We're not forcing any of this shit on anyone.
Yeah, I love the idea of just randomly. You wearing the Led Zeppelin shirt. Let me talk to you, boy.
Do you have 45 minutes? Like,
Did you know?
Squeaky kick pedal, motherfucker. Squeaky kick pedal.
You need to listen to this podcast right the fuck now. Yeah, it's an hour and a half, but you're going to listen.
I don't even tell people what I do for a living because I don't want to talk about it.
I don't like telling people that we have a podcast.
No, because they have a podcast. When they find out people actually fucking listen to yours, they want to come on it.
That happened to me recently. I'll have to tell you about that.
I bet. So anyways, new 21 Pilots album. It's called Scaled and Icy. And this is definitely what Billy Joel would be doing right now if he was 25 years old. This sounds like they are now trying to incorporate the Killers' influence and all these other bands that they've listed as influences. But it's also really funny because in so many of their earlier songs, they criticize how shallow popular rap or pop songs are. Then they turn around now and come out with this bullshit like Saturday. They have a song called Saturday. Guess what it's about?
Saturday?
It's Saturdays. Wow. It is about Saturdays.
Wow.
And the fun things that you would do on a Saturday, a Saturday evening.
It's the best day of the week.
I would love for everyone who is going to respond to our criticisms of the way Tyler Joseph enunciates on his earlier albums by saying that's just the way he sings or raps.
Yeah,
to go ahead and explain why he's all of a sudden not singing and rapping that way on the new album. Why is this guy now approaching syllables from a completely different direction, even while rapping? Why is there all of the sudden a 21 Pilots album where nobody would ever say, wait, is this kid from Ohio trying to sound like he's from Jamaica? Is it because that's what he was doing and then he stopped?
Yeah. No, he grew out of it.
Did he have a stroke and now he talks differently?
Hope that didn't actually happen and why he completely changed his completely sound of how he sings and enunciates. Hope not. Dude, the new songs, it sounds like a really, really, really budget, shitty, like dollar store version of like the Killers.
Yeah.
The thing that's weird to me about it when I listened to it, I was like, man, this is really fucking just corny, but it's not produced very well. And this is obviously a massive band. How
they have enough money?
did it just get to a point where they're like, we're going to make the record that we want to make and we're going to put it out, and the label had no say in it? Because that's kind of what it sounds like. If you look at it, you're like, oh, I guess the label just let them put this out.
So here's the thing. It's pretty obvious that the next 21 Pilots album, if they get to make another one, is going to return to the blurry face trench concept and say that the happy vibe of Scaled Back and Icy was the evil city of Demo from the Trench albums trying to lie and pretend that everything is fine. They're basically gonna say that it is a piece of propaganda set within the world. So I personally cannot wait to watch these guys try to sell the idea that they made a bad album on purpose because it's part of some genius narrative that they're gonna take years to roll out.
Dude, the thing is like, if that actually happens,
It's
like
gonna happen.
you deserve an award.
It's gonna happen.
Like, I would like to say,
I deserve an award.
yes,
or they deserve
you
an award?
No, you deserve an award for figuring it out.
That's
like
100% what they're gonna do.
Like ahead of the curve.
There's no chance that they're going to do anything other than that. Like I said, if they get to make another album, which based on the numbers of this new one, that very well may not happen.
Talk about off a cliff.
Nobody wants this band to do that.
Agreed.
This band's songs are all about being depressed.
Yeah.
So they have to keep doing that or else their fans aren't going to all of a sudden like stop being sad one day for no reason when this band has done nothing to walk them through that journey.
It's weird because if they had made this album first, if this was their first album, it would make way more sense to me. It'd be like, oh, look, we're a pop band making pop songs, and then it doesn't work. And then they get into this emo, sad reggae rap, whatever white boy thing that they do, right? Like that would make way more sense to me. That arc would be like maybe feel more natural to me. But instead they're doing it the exact opposite. They went reverse, and their career is going right back with it.
This doesn't really have anything to do with anything that we've talked about, but it is a random thing that I found while researching this episode, and there's no chance of me leaving it unmentioned because fuck these guys. There is some interview where the drummer of this band talks about how they used to just empty the sewage tank from their tour vehicle on the side of the road instead of going to a truck stop and doing it the right way, which is straight up unsafe and environmental pollution. These guys can both go fuck themselves.
Yeah, it's shitty. Pun intended.
It's super shitty.
It's a absolutely garbage thing to do. Do you remember when fucking Dave Matthews Band did it and they got caught and it was like a big deal? They had to like apologize and donated money.
They did it onto a boat of people.
But still, regardless.
Still horrible. But also the thing with that is they were in a leased tour bus, and I would be willing to bet that is more the fault of
the company,
the driver. When you lease a tour bus, they send a driver with you.
Of course.
So I doubt that Dave Matthews himself was like, "Hey, you know what you should do?
Dump this sewage off this fucking bridge."
But when that happened,
they get blamed.
Well, he got blamed, but he also donated a ton of money or whatever.
Yeah.
Even though it was not his bad, it was just like someone who was contracted to his organization, not even like a full-time employee or hire. Again, I would assume. I think that's what happened.
I would bet money that Mr. Matthews himself did not pull the plunger that released the sewage onto the people on the boat below. Regardless, they made up for it by doing the right thing, which was, apologizing, whatever. 21 Pilots.
I don't think that they've done anything except talk about it in an interview. I'm not aware of them doing any sort of restorative measures. I think you said more stuff in this episode than any other episode of this show.
I really hate this band.
Ever. I could tell.
It's just another bullshit thing being marketed to you, whatever. And when your song gets put in one of the biggest releases of the fucking year, Suicide Squad, which absolutely sucked as a movie. It was fucking terrible. But it was on every commercial and it gets pushed out there, not just by your record label, by the movie producers. Disgustingly terrible movie. I tried to watch it again and it was worse the fucking second time around. Oh my God.
All right, so I guess if your favorite movie is Suicide Squad, your favorite movie sucks. And if your favorite band is 21 Pilots,
your favorite band sucks.
You're welcome for another Mall Goth episode of Your Favorite Band Sucks. Our t-shirts are not for sale in a hot topic near you yet, so you'll need to go to yfbspod.com and hit up our merch store to see what designs are currently in stock. If this is the first episode of a podcast you've ever listened to because you're 18 years old, there's a page on the website with an alphabetical list of every episode we've ever done. Or if you'd rather listen in chronological order, you can go to your favorite podcast app and scroll back to the beginning of the RSS feed. Either way, you need to go ahead and get yourself an education. All right, that's a wrap on the 100th episode of Your Favorite Band Sucks. Who'd have ever thought we'd make it this far? Well, we knew we would, but you probably didn't. Anyway, we're not done, and given certain current events, we may as well keep the sad kid train rolling on by returning with an episode on Sunny Day Real Estate.